Welcome back to the Sounds of the Baskerville. I'm here with Chris Baskerville, the Hound. How are you, Chris?
Good afternoon, James. Good to be back.
Yeah, it's good to have you back on your own vodcast.
Yeah.
And we've been sort of filming a few sort of post our 100th episode. And we thought about, this one might be something around some of the funny stories that we've seen, but also, and maybe we'd start first with people, whilst you're an awesome person at what you do, sometimes companies and directors aren't ready to go straight to you. So we thought we'd bring in Hansel Hizola from Jirsch Sutherland, your fellow colleague of yours. And Hansel, or H, as your colleagues call you.
H, that's what they call me.
Good to see you, Hansel. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So then let's throw straight to you then. Well, how many times do you see a company that might be eligible for a small business restructuring that ticks all the boxes, like it under $1 million, paid all of the, got all the tax lodged, all completely rigid-edge? Is that, 100 out of 100 would be?
Well, funny me you asked that question because I've actually got 3 right now that's on the pipeline. They paid the SBI practitioners' fees in our trust account. We're just waiting for the accountants to complete the business activity statement and the income tax, all the ATO forms that needs to be lodged, and which actually I just received those forms and the go ahead from the directors this morning, and the accountants also confirmed that everything is prepared, ready to go. So we might have to start that tomorrow, mate. So yeah, so that's just the one, and the other one is. I've been speaking to this guy, director of a couple of restaurants on the Gold Coast that came to me with over $1 million worth of debt, and he's trying to reduce that debt so that he can enter into SBR. They're not ready yet. I think that he's got also other projects that he's prioritizing before the SBR, and I've already told him that the $1 million and the ATO is going to come knocking on the door pretty soon.
Yeah, you'd sort of think that based on some of our previous conversations, Chris, that you owe a taxman $1 million, there'd want to be some pretty important projects, Hansel, I reckon. So,
put it this way, that's in the strike zone of action.
Absolutely.
Like I think we're seeing it, and don't take this as gospel, but I think if you go $500,000 and above, you're right in the gun sights for firmer action.
Yeah.
So. If it's a couple of $1 million, I think you got to get your house in order real quick.
Yeah, and it's got to be ready for directors.
And the fact of the matter as well, James, is that the ATO is now looking at other entities that the director is involved in. If they have outstanding forms as well that hasn't been lodged, they consider that as adverse that would adversely affect their decision to accept an SPR proposal.
Oh, so you're making your life harder for yourself if you haven't done any paperwork.
And also the fact is that other entities that are probably, because first question you ask is what happened to that not $1 million, right?
Yeah.
And then if the ATO then finds out that there's another entity that's propping up another restaurant, then you ask that question, right? And then they'll take that into consideration when they're making the decision on whether to accept or reject the SBR proposal.
And what does your heart say when you say, well, I didn't pay you $1 million because I used it to prop up my other enterprise? The ATO, you'd go, well, why? That's my money?
Yeah. And our job as a practitioner to explain to the ATO the background of that $1 million debt. And then if we cannot explain that properly to them, of course, they're going to start asking the questions. Yeah. What happened to that $1 million?
In SBR, we always said that two things. One, the business had to be viable. So whatever it is that we're saving has got to go into perpetuity. Like, we're not saving a horse with no legs and a head missing. And number 2, there had to be an extraordinary reason why you're actually asking for SBR assistance, And obviously COVID was the big one, right? That was the main reason. But you can't use COVID as an excuse now in 2025.
Yeah, it's a little bit...
it's like people still relying on the floods in 2011. Yeah. We can't use that as an excuse anymore. So it has to be an extraordinary reason. And, frankly, I think smart business owners, when they receive any money into their bank account, will portion a bit off for taxes. And others don't. They just spend it all.
Yep.
And that's the trap that most business owners, particularly new in that first 18 months to 2 years, get caught. They spend all the money. But what happens is, with the tax cycle, which your accountant can explain for you, you end up getting caught having to pay back old taxes and future taxes at the same time. And that's the cash flow trap.
Yeah. And so if I follow that logic of that, but what I should be doing, Hansel, is I should be, even if I'm not paying, which I should be, I should at least be telling the taxman what I owe them. The taxman should still be getting I should say, here's my bass, because if I don't, it's a world of hurt later on when you've got to ask the accountant, say, all those 12 months worth of basses you've been chasing, I need them kind of now, because that puts a lot of pressure on the.
Oh, absolutely. Because if you don't lodge the business activity statements, you're going to get pinged as a director with a director's penalty notice.
Yeah, right. And I'll put you on the hook.
Yeah, put you on the hook personally.
And usually if you have to commit to having to lodge all those returns in a very, very short period of time, we say that an unofficial tax gets added to your accounting bill called the dickhead tax.
Yeah.
Which is we're going to sting you a price because you have been tardy and you haven't done your homework. So the cost is going to go up.
Do you see businesses that you go, you know what, with a couple of small changes, this could actually be a decent show? Have you seen some of those in some of your experience down the Gold Coast? You'd see all sorts of things on the Gold Coast, but
it's a sunny place for shady people. Yeah,
but you know what I mean. Like, have you seen? But if you just did X, Y, and Z, have you seen any of that sort of turnaround? You sit there and go, hang on, that's a turnaround job. It's not just fix me first, but have you seen anything like that?
Oh, there's quite a few of them. And I'll give you another example. Another restaurant. She came to me last week. She was crying, very distressed.
Yeah.
And she came to me with the director's penalty notice, dated May 2024.
Right. Okay. Okay.
And she told me all the other business activity statements and ATO forms are ready to be lodged, but I haven't lodged them.
Right.
And so I said to her, you're going to have to stop trading because you will be trading insolvently. You're just going to have to look after yourself because with this $200,000 DPN, most likely you probably owe by the time that you lodge the business activity statement, you'll owe the ATO about $400,000. So see straight in the business. It's entirely up to you. You're still a director of the company, but I'm letting you know now that if you continue trading this company, you'll be trading insolvently.
So that's a good call. That's not turnaround. That's hey, and you wouldn't want some of the people who give bad advice. The untrustworthy advisor might tell them, "Oh, we'll do this, we'll try that." All care, no responsibility. The most responsible thing is to rip off the Band-Aid, isn't it?
Exactly. And then that's when I told her the ramifications of being bankrupt, because she was all distressed, crying, almost suicidal, as she was telling me. And then she came out of the boardroom, she came out of the meeting, and she said, "Oh," with a smile on her face, and "I'm so happy. I'm going to go bankrupt."
Which on the face of it wasn't.
So you've gone through 7 phases of grief, in 20 minutes. Right.
This guy's a master.
Yeah. Anyway, but we've said this before, is that you'd rather be slapped across the face with the truth than kissed with a lie.
Yeah,
and, I think we're professional face slappers. Yeah. And that is our job. Like, our job is to inform a debtor or a director, these are the consequences for the actions, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. And we're not going to tell you anything that is untrue. But you need to hear this, and some people don't like hearing that.
No, so it's that river in Egypt, that sort of denial. Yeah. So I thought a great opportunity to share with you some of the stories that we've talked about over 100 and something episodes. But our favourite kind of the stories that we think are like stuck in our minds as we're talking. So I like the guy who had the science experiment in the banana farm. That was quite an interesting plantation. But in terms of,
he was creating liquid fertilizer in the back of a chook shed. That was the guy.
Yeah. And then you had to try and chase some horses. Some guy had horses in a paddock. So how do you chase? Where were the horses? And where was the paddock?
Yeah,
So,
my colleagues in Melbourne are chasing cows somewhere. So they've got this massive farmland. They're trying to find out whose cows are what and the branding.
It's a milking cow.
Yeah. I remember there was a guy in Inverell, and it was a banana plantation, or so we thought. What he was really doing was running cocaine up and down the eastern seaboard using banana boxes. And so he ended up getting arrested, no surprise. And then the Queensland government put proceeds of crime charges on all of the assets. So they go and seize everything, and they even did it over the land as well. And we tried to sell the land, and on there was a cow missing all of its teeth. We didn't know what to do with it. And so we sold the cow as part of the property.
Sort of like a comes with a toothless cow.
Sell it,
Okay, so can you top a toothless cow? Can you top that, Hansel? Or is that sort of, and as I say, mindful of the fact that you're operating on the Gold Coast, and there are some great entrepreneurs down there, and then there are some other ones, and so you get to see all kinds everywhere. So didn't our friends at Creditor Watch kind of isolated southeast Queensland, Gold Coast,
massive hot zone
for insolvency. So anyway,
and I'm pretty sure every unregistered management and investment scheme is conceived somewhere in that southeast
Gold
Queensland.
And then so nothing really sort of sticks to mind. You can't top the toothless cow. You can't topless the banana plants.
Not at this point though, James, because we've only been there for last 2 years in the Gold Coast. We're making strides, but I will tell you a story when we do come up with one.
Okay, so we'll get you back though, so they don't notice then, will we? That the H has got something to see if it can top. So we've had sawmills with equipment that's almost
it was obsolete, and importantly, none of it had safety guarding on it. So anybody could have lost an arm, a leg, and it was just amazing no one did. And it was just one of those failures to adapt. And it was one of those multi-generational businesses that started with, great-granddad with a handsaw chopping down trees, that then moves into a bit more automated sort of processing. And then the grandchildren inherit the business, but there's no IT, there's no computer systems, there's no nothing, all operated on paper. That was a bit crazy. But after Cyclone Yazi hit the Port Cardwell, and we had all these private citizens living in this estate, and the sewage treatment plant was privately run. So State Queensland didn't want anything to do with it because it had
it's not our problem.
Yeah, it's not our problem. That is your problem. And we had this madman running the sewage treatment plant. I reckon he was sniffing all the chemicals that go into the sewage treatment plant, because the guy was trying to wrestle up chickens. And he discovered that there was a crocodile in the local creek, and he was throwing the chickens into the creek to feed the crocodile, because what he was really trying to do is train the crocodile to have a crack at some of the residents that he didn't like in the estate.
I reckon that's close to the winning story. Isn't that closer to the winning story? I mean, in terms of the ones, and maybe you're the arbiter of this, is the most tangential to liquidation on the face of it, where you understand why these things end up where they do. We've had a Ponzi scheme where there was a hairdresser and a concreter were on the board of the investment.
Yeah,
advisory.
Python advisors.
So there's lots of ways that people can find how to lose money. The most important thing we often lament is that they don't just lose theirs; they lose the money
of others.
Which is the sort of how do you catch them in time, and how do you sort of prevent them from sort of taking something which is not theirs. But how many of these kind of crazy stories come from honest endeavour gone wrong versus something that was always going to be a bit out there?
It's a good question, because it's perception. So I may be crazy enough to create a machine that turns liquid fertilizer from pineapples, and I think I'm on track. I think I'm doing the right thing. To everybody else, they think you're a mad scientist in the middle of a shed. So it's all a matter of perception. So
okay, so I think the story goes that you've got people who try and make a dollar, and we've talked before about you celebrate people who have a go, don't you? You celebrate them.
Yeah, you do. And one common thing we see quite often is wherever the government spends its money, you tend to have a humongous amount of people starting up businesses in that space. You know, timber milling or trees, and then we had ostriches, then we had olives, pink bats, if everyone remembers pink bats.
NDIS.
And now the NDIS seems to be the current one where there was a prolific amount of money exiting federal government to go to anybody in this game. And of course, those that can sniff out money know how to set up a business to get that money. And then it gets saturated. So it gets saturated with a lot of rogue operators. And all of a sudden, the government starts to realize, why are we spending millions and millions and millions and it doesn't feel like we're getting any benefit? And then they tighten all the screws. As soon as they tighten the screws and stop the flow of funds, it's just chaos, absolute chaos. And we're starting to see that now. A lot of inquiry around NDIS companies where the government just froze their funds. And they freeze their funds to conduct some investigation that may or may not lead to the release of the said funds, but that could take 3 months. So imagine having to fund your business 3 months without the cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
So the lesson I think I've taken away from that is you really shouldn't be setting up businesses where government is your major customer in that respect. No, you shouldn't rely, because a changing policy, a changing government, and you're out of business.
Yeah, we talked about that
overnight.
Early on.
Overnight.
And so we talked about that early on. Any other kind of thoughts on that, sort of to round us off? Any sort of thought? I mean, businesses that you say don't buy into, franchise. Is that one of those? Anything else like that?
Hospitality, restaurants. I mean, my brother is chef. He's got 2 restaurants in the Gold Coast. He's quite successful. He's got a good following. But if you are in a restaurant industry that is very, very, your profit margin is very, very low, and you'll be dealing with also change of government, general, the interest and the interest rates, and it's spending that you're expecting from free money, right? And the restaurant business, although they're popping up everywhere, but people don't understand that there's very little profit margin in there.
That's a bit like running a bookshop. You do it for love, not for money, don't you?
Yeah, it's a lifestyle, and that's why my brother is doing what he's doing, because he loves the lifestyle.
And he's good at it.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So maybe that's where I went wrong. Don't do things unless you're good at them. But maybe, anyways, nothing wrong with having a go. Hey, talking about having a go, thank you very much for joining us, Hansel. I really appreciate you joining us on The Sounds of the Baskerville. And thanks to you, the star of the show, Chris Baskerville.
Thanks, James.
Thanks again.
Thank you.